As far back as 1944, Onyeka Abayomi, when she launched her party, she said, the interests of women are being sorely neglected.
These were powerful women. Their advocacy wasn't a 15 minutes or 20 minutes or one year thing. These women had been fighting for over 20 years for the rights of women.
Nigerian women form 49.5% of our population, but our voices are not being heard. Some states don't even have women in their houses of assembly. And what these ladies fought for, the likes of Ransom Kuti, Adekogbe, Gauban Sawaba, Ladishewu, Onyeka Abayomi, they wanted women's voices to be heard. As far back as 1944, Onyeka Abayomi, when she launched her party, she said, the interests of women are being sorely neglected. Those were exact words. This was 1944. And we find out that that is still the case today in 2022. INEC released its figures of women who are contesting. And according to the figures, out of 4,256 candidates, only 381 are women, which is even less than what we had for the 2019 election. This is not what the women who fought for a better and fairer Nigeria fought for. So all the things that are preventing women from stepping forward, and I say the political parties for one, a lot of our political parties do not allow our women to get to the point where they should be.
I believe that women's participation is important in changing the direction of the ship of state as we find it now. You know, the impact of women in business shows that really this country could do with more female participation from both the traditional and the educated elite.
In 1922, the Clifford Constitution introduced the principle of elective representation to Nigeria. And for the first time, Nigerians were encouraged to come out to vote for a legislative council. But it was just targeted towards the men. And it was from that point on that a number of women, through the years, right up to the 60s, began to agitate for voting rights for Nigerian women. Then going into the next decade, in 1940, we had Alimotu Pelewura, who also led a group of women, the Market Women Guild, to say that we don't want to be taxed, but if you're going to tax us, there must be representation on these councils. Gambo Sawaba was saying, she would say, look, you must give women their citizenship rights. Don't do that, then it means that you're not standing up for the meaning of a true society. She'll say things like that. And she ran into a lot of trouble because of that. Out of all the women suffragettes that we have, she was the one that was sent to prison. She was the one that was assaulted. In 1964, for instance, one of the news headlines was that Gambo Sawaba is missing. And when she was found by the side of the road. What had happened was that she left Zaria, her base, to go to Jos. Somehow she was abducted on the way there, left by the side of the road. And she was obviously found by some people who then took her to a hospital. And she said, I don't even know what happened. I cannot even say if my body was tampered with. So those were the kinds of heavy prices that some of the women in the North had to pay in order to get to the point of freedom, to have voting rights.
Chinola Dedeke, Funaya Ransom Kuti, Onyeka Abayomi, these were powerful women, in different ways. They were elite women because they were educated, but let us not discount how forceful and how influential they were, because they were consistent. Their advocacy wasn't a 15 minutes or 20 minutes or one year thing. These women had been fighting for over 20 years for the rights of women. These women took the step of forming a party, a political party, during the war, in the middle of emergency regulations. You weren't even allowed to publish certain things in the newspapers, much less form a political association and fight for the right of women to vote. Trade unions were being locked up for 2 years just for even complaining about workers' rights. Yet these women courageously stood up and said they wanted the world to know that they had a right to vote, they had a right to be voted for, and their fight was consistent, it was robust. It wasn't just about the elite women who could speak lots of English. In 1925, the NNDP, the first political party, would not have won the majority of seats it won without the support of the women. Anytime they wanted to campaign, they would bring Madam Alimotu Pelewura. They would drag her on stage to come and show the people, look, we have structure. This is our structure.
A lot of our political parties do not allow our women to get to the point where they should be. Somehow they're pushed to the side and there's always one argument or another. But in some countries, you find out that you cannot present your candidates list without there being a certain percentage of women. But we don't have that. Even the Electoral Act has not allowed that, because who are those who make the law? It's a male-dominated parliament, a male-dominated National Assembly. It's a very difficult position that women find themselves in today as far as fulfilling the dreams and visions of the early suffragettes.
Even if there's any problems with the electoral process, I think it's more institutional. It's not, it cuts across the board. You know, and maybe I'm just talking through my left heart and maybe I don't know enough about this, but I certainly know quite a bit, being a lawyer who studied the electoral laws of this country. I think the women are not disadvantaged substantially. There are other issues that impact on the rights of women, of which the electoral process is not the most fundamental, issue. The obstacles in the path of women exercising the right to be voted for is not one that is even hampered by electoral laws of this country. So I don't think that's the main problem. The main issue is the mindset of the men folk, mindset of even some women folk who do not believe that they have a right to sit as equals at the table.
How many of the governors have, women as their running mates? Lagos State used to be the template. We could say at the time that, okay, we're getting there gradually, we're just one seat away from governorship. And then all of a sudden, things changed. In 2019, there was no outcry.
Women at grassroots level seem to be more politically active than women at the elite level. The elite women are very much consumed by the challenges of careers, trying to survive in a male-dominated environment, trying to run families. The percentile of elite women who participate in politics beyond just saying I voted is minimal comparative to the potential number of powerful generals that should be out there leading the troops to battle.
It was only in 1954 for the Eastern region and 1957 for the Western region they got their voting rights. But we had to wait till 1976 before women in the North were finally granted their voting rights, when the Obasanjo military regime said all adults over the age of 18, men and women, can vote in the local government elections of 1976.
Women enjoy the right to vote today. Men enjoy their women voting. Politicians enjoy using the votes of women to gain political office without understanding the journey that took place, without even caring about it. It's taken for granted. But a lot happened.
The only woman really and truthfully that is known around the world when it comes to Nigerian women is Fulaira Sankuti. But there are other women. These women, they were not discouraged by the force of government, by the might of government. They spoke their minds and they were so consistent. I think that is their legacy, that whatever we believe in, we should carry on with our beliefs.
I fully appreciate that a lot needs to change before those efforts can come into fruition. A lot needs to change in terms of the legislative environment, and that's not just about men or women. It's about the electoral laws, constitutional provisions that ground the way that the country is structured and the way that the political party systems are structured. It is imperative that advocacy continue about changing the way the Nigerian political system is structured. It's not even a sustainable model for the state in which the country is in and will continue to be for a long time. There has to be a different way.
WIMBIZ is doing a wonderful job, but more can be done. I think that voter education is something that your organization, WIMBIZ, can participate in, can decide to tutor our men and women on the proper thing to do on the ballot paper.
Lots of women lost their lives, lost their livelihoods, lost their health for the right to vote and be voted for. Many women pay the ultimate sacrifice for the right to vote and be voted for. If people have made these sacrifices through the years, you cannot take it for granted. Please do not ever discount or underestimate the power that you hold with that vote.